morning again to those that joined us for the AGM. Just like Martine, I couldn't get to sleep last night either. Went to bed, resisted being dragged into drinking Jaeger bombs at the bar with the boys from Gripple. I was very disciplined, thought I'd get an early night, laid down, couldn't get to sleep. So if I smell a bit lavendery today, it's because I was smearing myself in sleepy, laid there, still didn't help. So I'm glad Mark's not here actually, because it didn't work for me, Mark. So it's my opportunity to say a few words. I'm on a counter, as everybody else is today. Ollie gave me 12 minutes. How mean is that, 12 minutes? I'm going to take 14. He's not going to be happy with me. So I just want to say a few words, first of all, about the conference. We couldn't continue to grow this conference in the way that we do without the phenomenal support of the businesses that contribute, sponsor and exhibit. So once again, I know we'll say it many times, but thank you really from all of us for that contribution that you all make. And I'd especially like to thank John Eckersley and the team at Capital for Colleagues for sponsoring this conference for a third year. It's with their generous support that we're able to develop the conference experience for you. And Martine's already mentioned the new newspaper. I love this because as the oldest member of the EOA team, which I'm constantly reminded, this is going retro. At a time when print's going out of fashion, we've gone retro. So I do hope you enjoy reading this, and as ever, do give us your feedback. If you like it, we'll make it a permanent feature, and we may even extend it. And you'll notice that unashamedly, we've said if you want to put your brand down here, you could sponsor this next year. So do let us know what you think. So this really is my favourite event of the year. We do a lot of things at the EOA, but coming here really is very special. Not only does it give me a chance to hear the brilliant stories of the new businesses that are starting the journey towards employee ownership, it allows me to connect with established businesses and the people who run those businesses who have become friends and supporters of the EOA. And of course, last night to celebrate the great achievements of the sector. But I'm also lucky that I get the chance to do this. So I get the chance to spend 12/14 minutes giving you some thoughts and views about the sector and where we might be in the future. So 12 months ago, you'll remember I stood here and reflected on political turmoil. Well, roll forward 12 months, it feels like we're still in the same position. After yet another general election, Brexit now looms, but the divorce negotiations continue to disappoint. However, whilst the economy has slowed a little, we seem to be holding up, although the recent budget predictions remain quite gloomy for the longer term. In the midst of all of that discussion about Brexit, however, an unexpected benefit, I think, has been the focus on a topic which is especially relevant to employee-owned businesses, and that's the role and purpose of capitalism. The inconvenient truth is that capitalism, in its current form, is not working for everyone. Across all areas of society, there is agreement that capitalism must start to deliver more than simply financial value to senior executives and corporate shareholders. And those organisations with behaviours focused on generating short-term executive wealth rather than protecting long-term business health are now regularly called out as examples of broken capitalism. Current questions circulating include: how should capitalism be regulated, if at all? How can wealth from capitalism be distributed more fairly? Is there a model of good capitalism? The evidence is clear. For capitalism to endure, it must evolve by becoming more inclusive, having wider impact, and being more responsible. Ultimately, I believe a healthier form of capitalism has far less self-interest. This debate matters massively to the employee-owned sector, as employee ownership is the antithesis of broken capitalism. Instead of the short-term self-interest of a small number of corporate shareholders, there is long-term shared purpose amongst all employee owners. Instead of the selfish greed of senior executive remuneration, there is an all-employee recognition and distributed reward of collective effort. And instead of the secrecy of corporate and executive self-preservation, there is transparency and trust. In fact, you've heard mentioned already the latest YouGov survey that was commissioned by the EOA and Cooperative Development Scotland demonstrates that almost 60% of those asked believe that employee-owned businesses are more trustworthy. And just to put that in context, that comes at the same time where the latest trust survey said that UK institutions trust is at an all-time low of 29%. The debate about capitalism couldn't be better timed. For, as you now know, the EOA has been leading this new national conversation about the relevance, value and opportunity of employee ownership in the UK economy. The Ownership Effect Inquiry is the first substantial study of employee ownership since the Nuttall Review in 2012 and is evidencing the sector's impact and effect by gathering new data of the last 5 years' phenomenal growth of this sector. With the support of the Eager Trust and John Lewis, we've reached out across the UK, engaging at 7 different separate hearings and with an online consultation, taking evidence from over 100 different businesses. We've now gathered the most in-depth evidence ever about the sector. In fact, our partners at Cass Business School and Alliance Manchester Business School were given 1,200 pages of evidence to sift through over the summer. In addition, our chair, Baroness Sharon Bowles, we were also delighted to attract the support of a group of panel members. And these have been drawn, really importantly, from business organisations that maybe have not been that close to the employee-owned sector in the past, including the Institute of Directors, the Institute for Family Business, the Federation of Small Business, the Institute of Chartered Accountants, the LEP Network, the Law Society, the Chartered Management Institute and others, some of whom are in the audience today. This really important group of independent business organisations have heard the evidence and are now in the process of helping to develop our recommendations, with the final report due in 2018. However, before then, I can reveal some of the findings and conclusions of the inquiry today. Firstly, this is a sector of the economy that is growing and diverse. Employee-owned businesses can be found across the UK in every industry and in every size of business. And unsurprisingly, that diversity means that there are a variety of different models of employee ownership. So we see the direct, the indirect and the hybrid model across the sector. Secondly, this is a business structure and culture which is delivering stronger business performance and higher levels of productivity, which of course is incredibly relevant right now. And it's doing this with more robust corporate governance and higher levels of employee engagement. Evidence from those that have moved to employee ownership in the last 5 years in particular is substantially showing increases in turnover and profit, a direct result of the effect of ownership on the individual, where their additional discretional effort, their higher levels of personal responsibility, and them behaving as owners is having a real effect on the bottom line. So, in considering where and when employee ownership might therefore contribute more to the UK economy, the panel has agreed 2 key areas of focus. Firstly, employee ownership has an important role to play at regional place level, where this is demonstrably evidenced by positive impact on the employee-owned businesses contributing to economic resilience and growth. And secondly, employee ownership is a model that works particularly well for SMEs and family businesses, and especially at the point at which they go through a business succession or scale up. The evidence for both of these was absolutely compelling, and especially in regions outside the M25, where sustaining and stimulating growth in local businesses, the routing of jobs and the support of supply chains is critical to regional resilience. And of course, this focus chimes really well with the industrial strategy that was launched yesterday with its focus on place. And we're continuing to engage with government to make sure that they are fully aware of the relevance and opportunity of employee ownership on their place agenda. However, The inquiry also revealed some stubborn challenges. The first one of which most of you will not be surprised at. There still exists a huge vacuum of awareness of the opportunity of employee ownership amongst business owners. And linked to that, a lack of awareness of the relevance and opportunity of employee ownership, especially amongst accountants. A second concern is the diversity of choice of finance options available, particularly for ownership transitions, and to some extent, a lack of finance generally for employee-owned businesses. This is again driven by a lack of consistent understanding of employee-owned structures and how to support these by the mainstream lenders. And finally, the evidence gathered in Scotland and Wales shows that these devolved governments have national economic strategies that are aligned to support the promotion of employee ownership. Without a similar commitment from UK government, however, there does remain a significant disadvantage to business owners in England who cannot tap into that same support. So whilst delivering the inquiry this year has been very intense for the EOA and its partners, it's been relatively short and sharp. However, the true value of this inquiry, of course, will be in the more sustained, challenging stage as we roll out and seek to capitalise on the findings and recommendations. That's because this next stage will be the start of a campaign for change. Not a change of hearts and minds, really, but a change of awareness, attitudes and behaviours. However, I'm really confident that together we've got the foundations in place to ensure that we've got the best chance of being successful in our campaign. Specifically, there are 3 elements to a successful campaign. Firstly, for us to gather traction and support and to create wider general appeal, we have to have allies. Now, our allies are those people and those organisations who will take our message into new places and in front of new audiences, to start to convince others when we're not there, using their own resources to create momentum and impact about the value of our cause, knowing that our cause suits their own stakeholders. And thankfully, many of our allies are already on board. They are the brilliant businesses that formed our panel in the inquiry. By listening to the evidence about employee ownership, they now understand it, they've challenged it, they've learnt much more about its relevance, and they are now really well placed to support the campaign. So working in partnership with these allies in the future, we can ensure that employee ownership becomes embedded in the mainstream business community in a way that it has not done so far. But we still need more allies. So taking our campaign into the heart of the economy will be necessary. So engaging with corporate and equity finance, the main lending banks, and the corporate mainstream must become second nature if employee ownership is to stand its ground and be recognised as a mainstream business structure. A second key element of any successful campaign is the presence of activists. So these are the agitators who champion, persuade and argue for the cause. They often initiate and undertake activity themselves, promote others' activity and are confident spokespeople for our campaign. We're already blessed with many of these as well. So these are the lawyers, the accountants, the engagement specialists, the banks, the professional advisors who make up the supporter network of the EOA. They organise seminars, they sponsor research, they host events, they facilitate many of the sessions at this conference. They maintain information about employee ownership on their own websites, and they promote employee ownership using their own PR, often into discrete sectors. They're also joined by many other EOA members, I have to say, and the EO sector group, who are so convinced of the benefits of employee ownership that they too choose to go that extra mile and to promote it, often into their own sectors. And finally, every great campaign needs its ambassadors. So these are the people and the businesses that absolutely embody the cause. They live by the values of employee ownership, they demonstrate the behaviours, and they are perfect examples for others to learn from. Now, of course, that's you, and many other businesses who are not able to be here today. That critical group of ambassadors. For it's your stories, your voice, your businesses that convince others about the opportunity for employee ownership. So thank you for everything you do as fantastic ambassadors for the EO sector. It's by speaking at local, regional and sector events, telling your story in the media, maybe entering for the awards last night, celebrating your ownership on Employee Ownership Day, that you are truly waving a flag for the sector. So, with our allies, our activists and our ambassadors, we will demonstrate not only that employee ownership is effective in sustaining SME and family businesses, adding to the resilience and prosperity of local economies through improved productivity and performance, we also have the opportunity and the potential to recast the description of what good capitalism looks like. As you can probably tell, I'm really enthusiastic about the ownership inquiry and what the opportunity is it provides for us to deliver the next wave of growth in the employee-owned sector. And the team, the board and I really look forward to working with every single one of you over the coming months and years as we deliver our campaign to achieve this. Thank you again for your ongoing support of the EOA, and I hope you have a brilliant second day. Thank you.